Here's something I just came up with this past week, primarily due to frustration. Why else does anything new come up around here at Mercedessource? It's always due to frustration, either not being able to find what you need in the marketplace or whatever is available in the marketplace doesn't work very well. Over the years, trying to find the lubricant. Where is it? Where is the silicone grease? Where is the synthetic? Where is my brake pad grease? Where are the syringes? I need a acid brush. I just, oh man. So I got together with my mechanic, and of course we did a test on different types of lubricants last week. And be sure and check that video out, because it shows you what happens when we put some of these lubricants on a brake rotor and stick it out in the rain for 10 days. You'll get a kick out of that. I'll put a link in this video to take you to that video. It's on YouTube, and you can kind of see this test and see why I'm so fanatical about lubricants. Okay, so I'm getting ready to do a lot of lubrication on my 560 SEC, and this is what we came up with, a kit. We got 3 of these in the shop now in different locations. We have extreme pressure moly grease here. We have synthetic wheel bearing grease here, silicone dielectric grease. We have clear synthetic grease. I've got acid brushes, stir sticks, Q-tips, curved tip syringes, all in this center section. Over here I have anti-corrosive gel. I've got antenna lubes, and down in here I got sunroof grease. We got ceramic brake pad grease. I have the anise compound, and then I have both the blue and the red thread locker, and of course on the sides I have my gloves. So you can see why I'm so happy. This is like a Christmas present to myself, since it's only a few days before Christmas. But through this test that I did on this brake rotor, I'm working on another lubricant here. This is going to replace the automatic transmission fluid that I've been using over the years to lubricate hinges and ball socket joints on throttle linkages. After my test outside in heavy rain, I am even more sold than ever on synthetic greases of all kind. This is a thin synthetic fluid that comes out of the curved tip syringe, not quite as thin as transmission fluid, but thin enough that it will wick down into hood hinges, linkages, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. I'm just going to show you a quick sample of using this lubricant. I'm going to do some more testing on this, which is going to include another test out of the rain. I'll come back and report back. Then this lubricant is going to replace the automatic transmission fluid that I've used in the past. All right, let me show you how I'm going to apply this to some key points inside the engine compartment of my 560 SEC. To begin with, I'm going to go after all the pivot points and the key points that need to be lubricated on these W126 hood hinges. And there's quite a few of them here, quite a few more than you would see on a W123. And I've had problems with the 126 hood hinges breaking and seizing up because of lack of lubrication. So I'm going to begin down here at the 2 lower pivot points. I'm going to put this synthetic lube right on the inside and outside of each pivot point. If there's a washer, I'm going to put it right down in the washer. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 points down here that will require lubrication. And one of them is really hard to get to. I mean, you're going to have to almost drip it onto it. But you need to look very closely at these pivot points down here. Don't neglect those. Don't just lubricate this and this here. It's these lower ones that I found create the problem due to moisture and rust forming inside the pins. All right, now I'm going to come up, I'll just lubricate this latch mechanism, and then I'm going to lubricate this hinge point. I'll go inside here. That's one of the things I like about the curved tip syringe. I can actually get right down in there to lubricate that one. Then I'll come over to this side, lubricate both sides of this. One of the advantages of using a synthetic, by the way, if inside any kind of a plastic bushing, synthetic is much better than a petroleum-based lubricant, because synthetic does not attack plastic like some petroleum products will. Yeah, I like the looks of this. I can see right away it's wicking in. It's not just running down the side of the hood, and that's real important. And what I'm going to do is I'll come back in about 10 minutes. I'm just going to put a second application on this. And if I see it dripping off anywhere, I will just get a chop rag, come down here and wipe those points off. Now, using this same curved tip syringe, let's go into the engine compartment. You can't believe how many linkages there are to lubricate on this 560 engine. It might be difficult, but I'll try to show this and keep out of the way of the camera lens. But before I begin lubricating, I'm going to move the rod that comes from the throttle pedal. Take a look at this. Look at how many things are moving here. See all those linkages, all those pivot points, and all those ball sockets that have to be lubricated, even down to the Bowden cable down here going down to the transmission. So not only do we lubricate the ball socket joint, I want to lubricate each one of these pivot points. Now, I've seen throttle stick on these old cars before because these pivot points have not been lubricated, and that can be really dangerous. So I'll start over here and start at the transmission Bowden cable. I'm going to lubricate that ball socket, and then I'm going to come up here and lubricate this pivot point there. I'm going to lubricate this ball socket. Come under here. What's nice about the curved tip syringe, if you hold it like this, you can get underneath it and kind of inject it uphill. I know it's not as easy as you think. Then we got a pivot point right here. Okay, now we're going to go after these ball sockets. It's nice if they're on the side because then you can get up top and inject the lubricant and just work the ball like this. And if you work it fast enough, it'll tend to wick up into it without dripping over the manifolds. Now this one's a little more difficult because I've got to go from underneath, but let's see if we can have a successful application with this curved tip syringe. Okay, I'm going to give it a good, and then I'm going to quickly move it like that. Not bad. See, it's not dripping down too badly. Then I'm going to lubricate each of these pivot points. And I'll exercise the throttle linkage. See if I can get that to work down in there. Okay, now I'm going to come underneath here. Once again, I don't know how else you do this. I used to use Q-tips before I discovered these curved tip syringes, but I'm going to give it a quick blast of lubricant and then quickly rotate it. Okay, that time I got a little bit too much. So I may have to come back and wipe that excess off. Okay, I think I've got everything on this side. Let's double check. Oh, I've got one more down here where the rod comes up from the throttle pedal. Oh, popped one off. That's what's nice about keeping these lubricated. When you go to have to remove them for some reason, they come off. If you don't lubricate them, boy, they can be tough to come off. All right, I'm going to come over here now. I'll get this rod for the cruise control. I'll put just a quick dab in there and then rotate it very quickly. See that? Same thing here. Just move it back and forth. Then I've got a pivot point right here that needs lubrication. And then I've got this rod here. And it goes way down in there. So what I'm going to do is use a curved tip syringe to get right lined up with a ball socket. And I'm going to drip it. Oh man, that's cool. You drip it right on that ball and then move it back and forth like this. Okay. We've already got that one. So now once I apply the lubricant, I'm just going to exercise this linkage a little bit. I'll wait a few minutes and come back with a little shop rag and just wipe off any excess that I might see. But I think you can see in this scene there are very few places that I'm going to have to worry about excess. Maybe this one here, and that's it. All the other ones are fine. I don't have lubricant dripping all over the engine compartment. And that's what I hate about spray lubricant. You come in here and you use a lot of spray lubricant, it gets on some of the plastic and rubber parts and then it discolors and it can even eat away at some of the other parts. So I try to avoid spray lubricants as much as possible.